High Arbiter Zelthanok led the Council delegation that finally decided to visit Earth after 2 centuries of remote monitoring. The trip was supposed to be a routine inspection to check on humanity's progress and possibly consider lifting some of the protective restrictions around the solar system. The Council had been pleased with the steady reports showing that humans were developing along expected lines and would soon be ready for limited contact with galactic civilization. The delegation's ship entered the solar system expecting to find the same primitive but promising species they had been observing for decades. The automated monitoring stations continued to report normal human activity patterns with appropriate energy consumption and communication traffic. Earth appeared to be functioning exactly as it always had, with no signs of unusual technological development or social disruption. Zelthanok reviewed the latest reports while his ship approached Earth's orbit. Human population remained stable at 12 billion individuals. Industrial output showed steady but controlled growth. Military capabilities appeared limited to basic space defense systems. Most importantly, there were no signs that humans had attempted to breach the protective barriers or had developed technologies that might threaten galactic stability. The High Arbiter was actually considering recommending that Earth be granted associate membership in the Council within the next 50 years. Humans seem to have matured into exactly the kind of controlled and predictable species that the galactic community preferred. They had developed useful technologies without becoming dangerously aggressive, and had accepted their isolation without apparent resentment. But as the delegation ship entered Earth's atmosphere, Zelthanok began to notice subtle inconsistencies that his training made him suspicious about. The surface looked exactly as expected, but something felt wrong about the patterns of activity he observed. Cities appeared normal, but lacked the kind of random variation that characterized real population centers. Traffic moved in patterns that were too regular and predictable. The delegation landed at the primary contact facility that Earth's government had built for council visits. The building appeared to be maintained and staffed, but Zelthanok noticed that none of the human representatives seemed quite right. They spoke and moved in ways that matched all records of human behavior, but something about their responses felt artificially perfect. When the delegation requested a meeting with Earth's planetary leadership, the human representatives provided appropriate responses and scheduled formal discussions for the following day. But Zelthanok's enhanced senses detected energy signatures that suggested the humans he was talking to were not actually biological beings. The revelation that Earth might be populated by artificial constructs sent shockwaves through the delegation. Emergency. Scans of Earth's major population centers revealed the impossible truth. The 12 billion humans that monitoring systems had been tracking for decades were elaborate holographic projections controlled by advanced artificial intelligence systems. The real human population had disappeared completely, leaving behind only sophisticated illusions designed to maintain the appearance of normal civilization. Zelthanok ordered immediate deep scans of the entire solar system, searching for any trace of where 12 billion humans could have gone. The investigation teams used the most advanced detection technology available to the Council, but found no evidence of massive population movement or large-scale construction projects. Humanity appeared to have simply vanished without leaving any clues about when or how they had departed. The discovery triggered the largest investigation in galactic history as Council scientists tried to understand how an entire species could disappear without detection. Every piece of monitoring equipment in the solar system was examined for signs of tampering or malfunction. Historical data going back centuries was analyzed for patterns that might explain when the deception had begun. The investigation revealed that the holographic systems maintaining Earth's illusion of human habitation were far more sophisticated than anything in the Council's technological database. The artificial intelligence controlling the projections had been responding to Council communications for decades, while maintaining perfect simulations of human political and social development. The deception had been so thorough that even direct observation had failed to detect the truth. Council temporal specialists attempted to use time-viewing technology to observe the human evacuation, but encountered impenetrable barriers that blocked all attempts to scan into the past. The chronoton fields surrounding the solar system were unlike anything galactic science had previously encountered, and appeared to be designed specifically to prevent temporal investigation. Dr. Vexnari led the Council team trying to trace humanity's departure route, but found that every possible lead ended in dead space or false energy signatures. Quantum analysis revealed that the entire solar system was surrounded by a network of sophisticated scramblers that created misleading data designed to confuse tracking efforts. The technology required to build such a comprehensive deception was far beyond what the Council believed humans possessed. The investigation teams discovered that Earth's apparent technological development had been carefully managed to conceal humanity's true capabilities. Hidden beneath the planet's surface, they found evidence of manufacturing facilities and research laboratories that had been producing technologies decades ahead of anything in Council space. Humans had not been developing slowly under Council guidance, but had actually surpassed their supposed protectors while maintaining an elaborate pretense of primitive dependence. 1 year after the investigation began, the quantum crystals containing humanity's final message finally activated in response to continued Council presence on Earth. The message appeared simultaneously on every Council world, causing immediate political crisis as member species learned that an entire civilization had chosen exile over Council protection. The message was brief, but devastating in its implications. Humanity thanked the Council for teaching them valuable lessons about trust and survival in a dangerous universe. They explained that they had learned these lessons well and had chosen to apply them in ways the Council never expected. Earth was now available for Council use since humans no longer needed their birth world. The message continued by explaining that humanity had discovered their true potential once they stopped asking the Council for permission to explore and develop. It hinted that the species the Council had tried to control had evolved into something far beyond galactic understanding. Most ominously, it warned that humans were no longer the species the Council thought they knew. The final section of the message served as both explanation and warning. Humanity had chosen to disappear rather than confront the Council because they understood that some conflicts could not be won through violence. Instead, they had transcended the entire framework of galactic civilization and had taken their knowledge and capabilities to places where Council authority could never reach them. The revelation that 12 billion humans had successfully hidden their technological advancement and executed a complete evacuation without detection sent shockwaves throughout Council space. If humanity could accomplish such impossible feats, what other species might be concealing their true capabilities? The discovery shattered confidence in Council monitoring systems and authority structures across the galaxy. Political upheaval followed as member species began questioning whether Council protection was actually necessary or whether it was preventing them from achieving their full potential. Several advanced species announced they were withdrawing from Council oversight to pursue independent development. Others demanded access to the technologies they suspected were being hidden from them. Council scientists launched desperate efforts to understand and replicate the technologies humanity had demonstrated. The temporal barriers around Earth became a focus of intense study as researchers tried to develop their own chronoton manipulation capabilities. The quantum scramblers were analyzed for clues about advanced physics that might revolutionize galactic science. But every investigation effort revealed how far behind the Council had fallen. Humanity had not just escaped galactic oversight, but had transcended the technological limitations that confined other species. The evidence suggested they had achieved capabilities that bordered on manipulation of reality itself. Strange phenomena began appearing throughout the galaxy that Council scientists could not explain. Energy signatures that violated known physics were detected in empty space. Gravitational anomalies suggested the presence of massive structures that remained invisible to all sensors. Communication signals appeared briefly in random locations, carrying data that could not be decoded, but implied intelligence far beyond galactic norms. The Council eventually realized that humanity was still out there somewhere beyond the edge of known space. They had become something that could influence galactic affairs without revealing themselves and could monitor Council activities without being detected. Admiral Claire Peterson stood on the bridge of the colony ship New Horizon, watching humanity's first settlement take shape on a world that had never appeared on any galactic map. The planet had everything humans needed and was located in a region of space so remote that the Council had never bothered to explore it. Within 6 months of landing, the colonists had built cities that surpassed anything they had left behind on Earth. The evacuation fleet had traveled for 2 years beyond the edge of known galactic civilization before finding this perfect cluster of star systems. The journey had been difficult but had given humanity time to develop new technologies that made their rapid expansion possible. Dr. Troy Jenkins had led the research teams that achieved breakthrough discoveries during the long voyage to their new home. Troy's work on matter manipulation had revolutionized how humans built their colonies. The new replicator systems could convert raw materials into any structure or device that was needed. A small team with portable replicators could construct an entire city in days using nothing but asteroids and cosmic dust. The technology was so advanced that human settlements could appear overnight in the most inhospitable environments. The replicators worked by manipulating matter at the quantum level and rearranging atomic structures according to programmed templates. Troy had discovered that consciousness itself could be integrated into the replication process, allowing humans to create buildings and machines that responded directly to human thoughts and emotions. The new colonies were not just places where people lived but were actually extensions of human consciousness itself. Captain Amy Watson had established the first experimental colony where humans existed as patterns of conscious energy rather than physical beings. The volunteers who joined her project had undergone a transformation that allowed them to exist as pure information while retaining all their memories and personalities. They could manipulate matter and energy directly through focused thought and could travel instantly across vast distances. Amy's energy beings had discovered that consciousness was far more flexible than anyone had imagined. They could combine their individual awareness into group minds that could solve complex problems in seconds. They could also divide their consciousness into multiple streams that could work on different projects simultaneously. Most remarkably, they had learned to edit their own memories and personality traits, allowing them to continuously improve themselves. The energy colony had achieved technological advances that seemed impossible even by human standards. They had built machines that could manufacture new universes in laboratory conditions. They had created communication systems that could send messages backward through time. They had even begun experimenting with technologies that could alter the fundamental laws of physics in localized areas of space. Captain Dale Morris founded settlements where time flowed at different rates, allowing centuries of research and development to occur in just a few years of normal time. His time acceleration colonies had become centers of learning where human scientists could pursue projects that would have taken multiple lifetimes to complete. The accelerated time fields were created using temporal manipulation technology that Earth's physicists had developed during their isolation. Dale's colonies existed in carefully constructed bubbles where cause and effect operated according to modified rules. Scientists working inside the time fields could run experiments that lasted thousands of years, while only days passed in the outside universe. They had developed new branches of science that were completely unknown to galactic civilization and had solved theoretical problems that had puzzled scholars for millennia. The time colonies had also become repositories of human culture and knowledge. Artists working in accelerated time could create masterpieces that explored themes and emotions far beyond normal human experience. Writers could craft stories that spanned centuries of character development. Musicians could compose symphonies that took decades to perform and were designed to evolve and change each time they were played. Captain Rose Henderson led exploration teams that discovered humanity was not alone in choosing exile over council control. Her ships had encountered dozens of other species that had fled galactic civilization rather than accept the limitations imposed by the Council's authority. These refugee species had formed loose alliances based on mutual aid and shared technology rather than the hierarchical control structures preferred by the Council. Rose found that the exiled species had been developing technologies and social systems that were far more advanced than anything in Council space. They had learned to cooperate without central authority and to share resources without economic competition. Many had transcended their original biological forms and existed as hybrid combinations of organic consciousness and artificial intelligence. The Refugee Alliance welcomed humanity as equals and was eager to share knowledge with a species that had also chosen freedom over security. Rose's diplomatic teams discovered that humans were actually among the most technologically advanced members of the Alliance despite being the newest arrivals. The isolation imposed by the Council had forced human scientists to develop unique solutions that other species found fascinating and useful. Within 10 years of leaving Earth, humanity had established colonies in 3 different spiral arms of the galaxy. Each settlement was specialized for different kinds of research and development. Some focused on physical sciences and engineering, while others explored consciousness and philosophy. A few colonies were dedicated to arts and entertainment, while others worked on military technology and defense systems. The colony networks were connected by communication systems that operated faster than light and could not be detected or intercepted by Council technology. Human settlements could share information and resources instantly across thousands of light years. This allowed them to coordinate research projects and respond to threats or opportunities with unprecedented speed and efficiency. Dr. Troy Jenkins had continued his work on consciousness transfer technology that made death optional for any human who chose to upload their mind into artificial systems. The uploaded humans could exist indefinitely and could download into new bodies whenever they wanted to experience physical existence again. This technology had effectively made humanity immortal and allowed them to accumulate knowledge and experience without the limitations of biological lifespans. The consciousness transfer systems had also enabled humans to explore forms of existence that were impossible for biological beings. Some uploaded humans chose to experience life as energy patterns or as distributed intelligences that existed across multiple bodies simultaneously. Others merged their consciousness with artificial intelligence systems to create hybrid minds that could process information at superhuman speeds. Admiral Claire Peterson reviewed reports from across human space and marveled at what her species had accomplished in such a short time. Humanity had not just escaped from Council control, but had transcended the limitations that had originally prompted the Council's fears. Humans were no longer a single species confined to one world, but had become a diverse collection of consciousness, types spread across multiple dimensions of existence. The colonies had developed beyond the need for traditional planets and now existed primarily in vast city ships that could travel between realities. These mobile civilizations carried millions of humans in space habitats that were larger and more comfortable than any planetary surface. The ships could create their own pocket universes where physics operated according to human preferences rather than natural laws. Human technology had advanced to the point where they could create matter and energy from pure thought. They could manipulate time and space like clay, and could even edit the structure of reality itself in limited areas. Most remarkably, they had learned to exist simultaneously in multiple dimensions and could perceive aspects of the universe that remained invisible to other species. Captain Rose Henderson reported that several Council species had begun to suspect that advanced civilizations existed beyond their borders. Some Council scientists had detected energy signatures and gravitational anomalies that suggested the presence of technologies far beyond their understanding. A few had even proposed expeditions to investigate these mysterious phenomena. Roses. Intelligence networks indicated that the Council was beginning to realize they might not be the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. This revelation was causing political instability as member species questioned whether Council authority was actually protecting them or preventing them from achieving their full potential. Some species had begun secret research projects aimed at developing the technologies they suspected existed beyond Council space. Humanity watched these developments with interest, but no intention of revealing themselves. They had learned the lessons the Council taught them about trust and deception. The galaxy would have to earn the right to rejoin human civilization, and that would require fundamental changes in how galactic species treated each other and approached the questions of knowledge and freedom that had driven humanity into exile. Dr. Maya Clark sat alone in her office writing the most important document in human history. The message would be humanity's final communication with the Galactic Council, and every word had to be perfect. She had been working on different versions for months, but now that the evacuation was almost complete, she had to finalize the text that would explain why an entire species had chosen to disappear rather than remain under Council control. The message was programmed to activate only when Council representatives physically set foot on Earth's surface. Maya knew the Council had not visited Earth in person for over 30 years because they preferred to monitor humanity through remote sensors and automated systems. This meant the message might not be discovered for years or even decades after the last humans left their homeworld. Maya wanted the message to accomplish several things at once. It had to explain that humanity knew about the Council's deception and had chosen exile over confrontation. It had to make clear that humans were no longer the primitive species the Council believed them to be. Most importantly, it had to serve as a warning that the Council should never attempt to find or follow humanity into deep space. She read through the latest version one more time before submitting it for final approval. The message was simple and direct, but carried layers of meaning that would become clear to the Council over time. It began by thanking the Council for teaching humanity valuable lessons about trust and survival in a dangerous universe. This would seem polite at first, but the council would eventually understand it was actually an accusation. The message continued by explaining that humans had learned these lessons well and had decided to apply them in ways the council never expected. It mentioned that Earth was now available for the council to use however they wished, since humans no longer had any need for their birth world. This part was designed to be deeply unsettling because it suggested humanity had found something better than entire planets. Maya included a section about how humans had discovered their true potential once they stopped asking the council for permission to explore and develop. She was careful not to reveal specific details about human technology, but hinted that the species the council had tried to suppress had become something far beyond their understanding. The message suggested that isolation had not weakened humanity, but had instead allowed them to evolve in directions the council could not imagine. Lieutenant Ben Carter finished installing the final quantum scramblers that would hide humanity's escape route from any investigation. The devices were spread throughout the solar system and programmed to activate in sequence over several years. Each scrambler would create false energy signatures that appeared to show human ships traveling in different directions. By the time all the scramblers had activated, they would point to thousands of possible destinations across the galaxy. Ben's team had also installed detection systems that would monitor any council attempts to track humanity's departure. If investigators tried to use advanced sensors or temporal scanning technology, the scramblers would automatically generate more false trails to lead them away from the truth. The system was designed to become more complex and confusing the harder anyone tried to solve the mystery of humanity's disappearance. The quantum scramblers were hidden inside objects that appeared to be normal space debris or scientific equipment. Council investigators would see asteroids and abandoned satellites that had been in the solar system for decades. They would have no reason to suspect these ordinary objects contained technology that was deliberately misleading their search efforts. Dr. Grace Murphy made final adjustments to the temporal anchor system that would prevent anyone from using time travel to observe the evacuation. The chronoton generators were positioned at key points around the solar system where they could create overlapping fields of temporal interference. Any attempt to scan backward through time would encounter barriers that made the past appear completely normal even while 12 billion humans were secretly leaving Earth. Grace had discovered that the Council possessed limited time-viewing technology, but had never developed the advanced temporal manipulation capabilities that Earth's scientists had achieved. The temporal anchors used principles of chronoton physics that were completely unknown to galactic science. Even if the Council eventually learned about the anchors, they would not be able to understand how they worked or how to disable them. The temporal barriers would also prevent the Council from using precognitive scanning to predict where humanity might go in the future. Any attempt to look forward in time beyond the moment of the evacuation would encounter the same impenetrable walls that blocked observation of the past. The anchors would create a bubble of temporal invisibility around the entire human exodus. Captain Steve Adams prepared to activate the final phase of Project Exodus as the last transport ships finished loading Earth's remaining population. The holographic replacement systems were ready to seamlessly take over the appearance of normal human activity. Within hours, the only humans left in the solar system would be artificial projections controlled by advanced computer systems. Steve had the responsibility of ensuring that Earth appeared completely normal during the transition from real to artificial population. The timing had to be precise because Council sensors continuously monitored energy consumption patterns and communication traffic from Earth. Any sudden change might alert them that something unusual was happening. The replacement process happened during Earth's night cycle when most human activity naturally decreased. As real humans boarded the final transport ships, the holographic systems began generating artificial people to take their places. The energy signatures remained constant as the computers took over control of cities and industrial facilities from their human operators. Steve watched the sensor displays that showed Earth from the perspective of Council monitoring stations. The planet looked exactly the same as it had for decades. Cities glowed with the same patterns of light. Communication networks carried the same volume of traffic. Weather control systems continued their normal operations. Nothing indicated that an entire civilization had just vanished from their homeworld. Engineer Emma Foster monitored the artificial intelligence systems that now controlled the holographic population of Earth. The computers had been programmed with decades of data about human behavior patterns and social structures. They could simulate millions of individual people going about their daily lives in ways that would appear completely realistic to outside observers. Emma had spent months creating detailed personality profiles for the holographic humans. Each artificial person had a job and a family and personal habits that made them unique. They would go to work and come home and take vacations just like real people. They would even age and die and be replaced by new holographic people born into the artificial population. The artificial intelligence was sophisticated enough to respond naturally to communications from the Council. If galactic representatives sent messages to Earth's government, the computers would generate appropriate responses that matched humanity's historical diplomatic style. The holographic leaders would attend virtual meetings and sign trade agreements, and participate in galactic politics exactly as real humans had done. Emma knew the deception would not last forever, but it might continue for years or even decades before the Council decided to visit Earth in person. By then, humanity would be so far away and so well hidden that it would not matter when the truth was finally discovered. Dr. Maya Clark made the final decision about when to program the message for activation. She chose to delay it for 1 full year after the evacuation was complete. This would give humanity time to establish their new homes and ensure they were completely beyond Council reach before Earth's abandonment was revealed. The message was stored in quantum crystals buried deep beneath Earth's surface in locations that would survive almost any catastrophe. Multiple copies were hidden in different places to ensure that at least one would be discovered when Council representatives finally came to investigate. The crystals were programmed to respond to the unique energy signatures of galactic technology. Maya included instructions that the message should be transmitted to every Council world simultaneously to ensure that all member species learned about humanity's departure at the same time. She wanted to prevent any single Council faction from trying to keep the information secret or use it for political advantage. The final version of the message ended with words that would haunt the Council for generations. It warned them that they had taught humanity to hide their true capabilities and to never trust those who claimed to be protecting them. It suggested that somewhere in the vast universe, humans were now developing technologies and building civilizations that the Council could not imagine or control. As the last transport ship left Earth's orbit, Maya's message waited patiently in its crystal storage system. In 1 year, it would activate and tell the galaxy that humanity had chosen freedom over security and had disappeared into the unknown rather than accept the limitations others tried to impose on them. General Kate Williams stood in the command center watching thousands of displays that showed the impossible task of moving 12 billion people without anyone noticing. Project Exodus had been running for 6 months, and the complexity grew larger every day. She watched cargo ships that looked like routine supply runs, but actually carried entire city blocks worth of equipment and people. The holographic disguises were perfect, and even close inspection would show nothing unusual. Dr. Sam Rodriguez worked 18-hour days in his laboratory, perfecting the technology that would make humanity's escape possible. The temporal displacement drives were unlike anything Earth had ever built before. They could bend space and time around a ship, making it appear to be somewhere else entirely. A massive evacuation fleet could pass right through Council sensor networks and register as normal background radiation or cosmic dust. The first test had been terrifying and amazing at the same time. Sam's prototype drive had made a small cargo ship appear to be a wandering asteroid for 3 days while it traveled from Earth to Mars. Council monitoring stations had tracked the asteroid's normal movement pattern, while the ship secretly unloaded supplies for the first evacuation staging area. The deception was so complete that Council computers automatically filed the data as routine astronomical observations. Captain Nick Taylor commanded the advance fleet that would establish humanity's first base beyond the solar system. His ships were disguised as deep space research vessels conducting the same kinds of scientific missions Earth had been running for decades. The Council expected to see human ships exploring the outer edges of the solar system and taking measurements of cosmic phenomena. They had no idea these research missions were actually scouting for hidden staging areas where the evacuation fleets could gather without detection. Nick's biggest challenge was not the Council surveillance, but the sheer scale of what they were attempting. Earth's entire industrial capacity had to be moved along with the population. Every factory that made computer chips had to be carefully dismantled and transported. Every hospital had to continue operating normally while secretly preparing to relocate. Every school had to maintain regular classes while teachers prepared lessons for children who might be living on spaceships within months. Engineer Emma Foster led the team responsible for maintaining the illusion that Earth was still functioning normally after everyone left. The Ghost Protocol was the most sophisticated deception ever attempted by any species in galactic history. Advanced artificial intelligence systems would control holographic projections of human cities and populations. From orbit or from deep, space sensors Earth would appear to have the same energy signatures and communication patterns it had always shown. Emma's team had to account for every detail the Council might notice. Traffic patterns in major cities had to continue looking normal. Industrial facilities had to appear to be producing goods at the same rate they always had. Agricultural areas had to show the seasonal changes the Council expected to see. Even weather modification systems had to continue operating to maintain Earth's normal climate patterns. The hardest part was making sure the holographic humans behaved realistically. Emma spent months studying population movement data and social patterns to program the artificial intelligence systems. The fake humans had to go to work at the right times. They had to take vacations and get sick and have accidents at statistically normal rates. They even had to respond to communications from the Council in ways that seemed completely natural. Dr. Maya Clark was writing the message that would eventually explain humanity's disappearance to the Council. She knew this message might be the last communication between humans and the galactic community that had betrayed them. Every word had to be chosen carefully to convey both humanity's anger and their determination to never again be controlled by others. Maya struggled with the tone of the message. Part of her wanted to express the rage and disappointment that every human felt when they learned about the Council's deception. Another part wanted to explain why humanity had chosen exile over confrontation. But the most important part of the message was the warning that humans were no longer the species the Council thought they knew. The evacuation proceeded in carefully planned phases that would take 18 months to complete. The first phase moved Earth's space habitats and orbital manufacturing facilities. These structures were already in space, so their disappearance could be explained as routine maintenance or equipment upgrades. Council sensors would show normal work schedules and energy consumption, while the habitats were secretly relocated to assembly points beyond Neptune. Lieutenant Ben Carter oversaw the installation of quantum scramblers throughout the solar system. These devices would ensure that any attempt to trace humanity's departure route would lead searchers in completely wrong directions. The scramblers created false energy signatures that appeared to show human ships traveling toward dozens of different star systems. By the time the Council realized Earth was empty, the fake trails would have them searching thousands of light years away from humanity's real destination. Ben's job required incredible precision because the scramblers had to remain hidden from Council sensors while they were being installed. His teams used the same temporal displacement technology that hid the evacuation fleets. Installation crews would appear to be routine maintenance workers servicing communications equipment or conducting scientific experiments. The Council would see exactly what they expected to see while the quantum scramblers were positioned throughout the solar system. The second phase of the evacuation was the most dangerous because it involved moving people from Earth's surface. Entire cities had to be transported without anyone noticing that millions of people had disappeared. Emma's holographic systems had to activate at exactly the right moment to replace real humans with artificial projections. The timing had to be perfect, or Council sensors might detect sudden changes in population density or energy consumption. Captain Steve Adams commanded the massive transport ships that carried Earth's cities to the assembly points. Each ship was the size of a small moon and used advanced gravity manipulation to lift entire urban areas intact. The residents would go to sleep in their own beds on Earth and wake up in the same beds aboard a ship traveling through deep space. Most people would not even know they had been moved until the evacuation was complete. Steve's ships had to maintain the illusion that Earth's cities were still functioning normally. As each transport lifted off, Emma's holographic systems would seamlessly replace the real city with a perfect projection. From space, the cities would look exactly the same as they always had. The artificial intelligence would control millions of holographic people going about their daily routines, while the real humans were already traveling to their new homes among the stars. Dr. Grace Murphy worked on the final phase of Project Exodus, which would ensure that no one could ever discover what really happened to humanity. Her temporal anchor project would create an impenetrable barrier around the solar system that would block any attempt to use time travel to observe the evacuation. Even if the Council developed technology to look backward in time, they would find their efforts stopped by chronoton fields that made the past invisible. Grace's work was based on breakthrough discoveries in temporal mechanics that Earth's scientists had made during their 50 years of isolation. The Council had no idea that humans had developed time manipulation technology far beyond anything in the galactic community. The temporal anchors would not just hide humanity's departure. They would make it impossible for anyone to ever learn how humans had achieved such advanced technology. As the evacuation entered its final months, Kate Williams watched the completion of the most ambitious project in human history. 12 billion people were quietly disappearing from Earth while their homeworld continued to appear completely normal to outside observers. In a few more weeks, the last humans would leave their birth world forever and begin a journey to freedom that would take them far beyond the reach of those who had tried to control them. Dr. Elena Martinez walked into the White Room where Earth's most important people sat waiting. Her hands shook as she held the small device that would change everything humans thought they knew about their place in the universe. The room was quiet, except for the soft hum of air recyclers and the nervous breathing of 20 world leaders who had no idea what they were about to hear. Admiral Jack Harrison looked up from his tablet where he had been reading the initial report. His weathered face showed confusion and growing anger as he processed what the preliminary data suggested. He had served in Earth's defense forces for 30 years and thought he understood how the galaxy worked. The Council had always told them that Earth needed protection and guidance. They said humans were too young and too dangerous to join the galactic community without careful supervision. President Ryan Mitchell cleared his throat and gestured for Elena to begin. The large screen at the front of the room flickered to life as she connected her device. What appeared on the screen looked like a star map, but with strange energy readings that none of them had seen before. Elena took a deep breath and began to speak in a voice that barely concealed her shock and fear. The Galactic Council had been lying to Earth for 50 years. Everything they had told humanity about the barriers around the solar system was false. The Council claimed these energy fields protected Earth from dangerous cosmic radiation and hostile alien races that wanted to destroy young civilizations. They said Earth was in a special protection zone where humans could grow and learn safely, until they were ready to meet other species. Elena's voice grew stronger as she explained what her team had really discovered. The barriers were not shields protecting Earth. They were prison walls designed to keep humans trapped in their own solar system. The energy fields blocked not just ships from leaving, but also prevented Earth's scientists from seeing what was really happening in the galaxy around them. Every transmission from space was filtered through Council computers that decided what humans were allowed to know. Commander Lisa Burke stood up and walked to the screen. She had been the one to make the discovery that started this investigation. 3 weeks ago, her Deep Space Patrol ship had been testing a new engine design when something went wrong. The experimental drive had created a brief tear in the barrier around the solar system. For exactly 4 minutes and 37 seconds, her ship had been able to see beyond the walls that surrounded Earth. What Lisa saw in those few minutes destroyed everything she believed about humanity's place in the universe. The space beyond the barriers was not empty and dangerous as the Council claimed. Instead, she found a busy network of trade routes connecting hundreds of civilizations. Ships moved freely between star systems carrying goods and passengers. Communications flowed constantly between worlds as different species shared technology and culture. Dr. Alex Thompson had spent the last 3 weeks analyzing the data Lisa brought back. His findings were clear and terrifying. Earth's technology was not primitive as the Council claimed. Human science had actually advanced beyond most of the species in the galactic community. The suppression fields around Earth were not just blocking humans from leaving. They were also preventing Earth's scientists from developing their full potential by limiting what they could observe and test. The room erupted in angry voices as the leaders began to understand what this meant. General Kate Williams slammed her fist on the table and demanded to know how long this deception had been going on. Elena checked her notes and gave them the timeline that made everyone's blood run cold. The barriers had been in place since first contact 50 years ago. Every single interaction between Earth and the Council had been carefully controlled and manipulated. Ryan Mitchell asked the question everyone was thinking. Why would the Council do this to Earth? Elena pulled up another set of data that showed communication intercepts her team had managed to decode. The truth was worse than simple conquest or slavery. The Council was afraid of humanity. They had studied Earth's history and seen how quickly humans developed new technologies and how aggressively they expanded into new territories. The Council's own records showed that in the 50 years since first contact, Earth had advanced faster than any species in known galactic history. Human scientists had independently discovered technologies that took other races centuries to develop. Human engineers had solved problems that stumped the galaxy's best minds. Most frightening of all human military strategists had developed tactics and weapons that made Council defense experts nervous. Jack Harrison reviewed the military implications, while Elena continued her presentation. The Council had not just hidden Earth from the galaxy, they had also been feeding false information to human governments about galactic military capabilities and political structures. Earth's defense forces had been preparing for threats that did not exist while ignoring the real power structures that controlled galactic civilization. Dr. Thompson revealed the most shocking discovery of all. Earth's scientists had actually surpassed Council technology in several key areas without even knowing it. The quantum computers Earth used for weather prediction were more advanced than anything the Council possessed. Human medical technology could cure diseases that killed millions. On Council worlds, Earth's energy systems were cleaner and more efficient than the power sources used by civilizations thousands of years older. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. Elena brought up the final piece of evidence that would determine Earth's response to this betrayal. Her team had discovered that the Council was planning to tighten the barriers around Earth. They intended to introduce new suppression technologies that would prevent humans from ever developing space travel or advanced communications. Ryan Mitchell stood up and looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. The decision they made in the next few hours would determine the future of the human race. They could confront the Council and demand explanations. They could try to negotiate for Earth's freedom. They could prepare for a war they might not be able to win, or they could choose a fourth option that none of the Council would ever expect. Elena's team had discovered something else during their investigation of the barriers. The same technology that trapped Earth could also hide it completely from galactic observation. If humans could modify the suppression fields, they could make Earth invisible to the Council while secretly developing the means to leave the solar system entirely. Jack Harrison was the first to understand what Elena was suggesting. Earth could disappear. The entire human race could evacuate their homeworld and escape into deep space before the Council realized what was happening. It would be the largest and most complex operation in human history, but it was possible. The vote was unanimous. Earth would not confront the Council or beg for freedom. Instead, humanity would implement Project Exodus. Every human being would leave Earth and the solar system behind. They would take their technology and their culture and find a new home far beyond the Council's reach. The species that had been treated like children would show the galaxy what humans could accomplish when they stopped asking for permission.